Center around your future, not your past. Book recording, composed by Kelvin W. Nathan, distributed by Books on Sound. Presentation: the past can show us significant illustrations. However, it's not intended to keep us down. In this book recording, you'll find how to relinquish the weights of your past and embrace a strong, future-centered mentality. Figure out how to transform difficulties into venturing stones, free yourself from restricting convictions, and begin constructing the existence you genuinely want. As the idiom goes, the past is a position of learning, not a position of living. Center around where you're going, not where you've been. This book recording will direct you through useful moves toward discharge old propensities, defeat profound weight, and push ahead with certainty. Now is the ideal time to quit thinking back and begin pushing ahead. Your future is pausing. Section 1: Relinquishing the previous. Why it's fundamental. The past can feel like a significant burden we convey with us, loaded up with recollections, laments, and encounters that shape what our identity is. While it's normal to clutch these recollections, gripping too firmly to the past can keep us down. Envision attempting to run forward while continually investigating your shoulder. It dials you back and keeps you from completely pushing forward. Relinquishing the past isn't tied in with failing to remember what occurred. It's tied in with liberating yourself from the close-to-home load of things you can't change. At the point when we center a lot around previous mishaps or botched opportunities, it's not difficult to feel stuck. We could think, imagine a scenario where I had done things any other way, or I want to return and change that. In any case, harping on these considerations prevents us from seeing the conceivable outcomes in the present and future. By giving up, we permit ourselves to see new ways, put forth new objectives, and embrace new open doors. Giving up doesn't mean disregarding significant illustrations. All things being equal, it's tied in with utilizing those illustrations to settle on better decisions, pushing ahead, without letting misgiving or dread keep us down. Pushing ahead becomes simpler when we quit hauling past weights alongside us. This part will direct you through viable moves toward let go of what no longer serves you, liberating your brain and heart to zero in on the positive prospects that lie ahead. Section 2: Mentality Shift. Embracing a forward center. Our outlook effectively affects how we see our lives and our decisions. Moving our mentality toward a forward center method, relinquishing considerations attached to the past and zeroing in on what lies ahead. This shift doesn't work out by accident, more or less. However, with training, it can turn out to be natural. At the point when we embrace a forward-centered mentality, we're better ready to design, put forth objectives, and make strides that line up with the future we want. By figuring out how to zero in on where we're going as opposed to where we've been, we engage ourselves to settle on decisions that help development and progress. One of the most important phases in this outlook shift is to perceive the narratives we educate ourselves concerning the past. These accounts can impact how we feel about our capacities and what we want to achieve. Assuming we're continually replaying adverse occasions or past disappointments to us, we might start to accept that we're restricted by those encounters. Embracing a forward-centered mentality includes changing these accounts. Rather than seeing misfortunes as confirmation of disappointment, we can see them as venturing stones that assisted us with developing. By moving our viewpoint along these lines, we account for positive considerations about our future. A forward-centered mentality likewise assists us with embracing change. Life is continually moving, and some of the time the obscure can feel threatening. Notwithstanding, when we're centered around the future, we begin to see change as an open door as opposed to a danger. This outlook assists us with adjusting to new circumstances and welcome the startling with interest as opposed to fear. Embracing change becomes simpler when we recollect that each new experience has something to show us and can carry us nearer to our objectives. With a forward-centered approach, change turns into a piece of the excursion instead of a snag. In conclusion, zeroing in on what's in store assists us with living with reason and course. At the point when we're clear about our objectives, we're more roused to make moves that lead us toward them. Setting goals and pursuing them keeps us grounded in what makes the biggest difference and assists us with remaining tough when difficulties emerge. This section will direct you through strategies to reinforce your forward concentration and keep your psyche fixated on making a significant future. Embracing a forward-centered outlook isn't tied in with moving on from what happened before. It's tied in with deciding to involve every day as another potential chance to construct the existence you need. We as a whole convey convictions formed by our previous encounters, yet not these convictions serve us. Some of them, known as restricting convictions, can keep us away from arriving at our maximum capacity. Restricting convictions are those negative considerations or suppositions we've gotten en route, frequently without acknowledging it. These convictions could emerge out of things individuals have said, encounters we've had, or botches we've made. They're similar to imperceptible hindrances that keep us from pushing ahead, persuading us that we can't follow through with something or that we're not sufficient. One normal wellspring of restricting convictions is past disappointments or mix-ups. When something turns out badly, it's normal to feel frustrated or deterred. In any case, on the off chance that we harp on these encounters, they can begin to shape how we see ourselves. For instance, a solitary disappointment could persuade us to think, "I won't ever prevail at this," or "I'm bad at this." These convictions are strong in light of the fact that they can turn out to be important for our character, preventing us from attempting new things. Perceiving these restricting convictions is the most vital move toward breaking liberated from them. Our restricting convictions can likewise be impacted by everything that others have said to us. In some cases, good-natured individuals, relatives, companions, or educators make statements that leave an enduring effect. They could remark on our capacities or recommend their thought process we're prepared to do. In the event that these remarks are negative or pompous, we might incorporate them as insights. For instance, assuming somebody more than once says, "You're not equipped to deal with this," we might begin to trust it, regardless of whether it isn't correct. It's fundamental to perceive that these convictions frequently come from others' perspectives and aren't really an impression of our actual potential. Distinguishing restricting convictions requires mindfulness and genuineness. An effective method for beginning is by inspecting our considerations and seeing any themes of self-uncertainty or negative reasoning. Ask yourself inquiries like, "What convictions do I have about my capacities?" Or on the other hand, "Are there things I accept I mightn't?" Recording these convictions can assist with making them apparent, so they're more straightforward to address. While we carry these secret considerations to the surface, we can begin addressing them and isolating truth from feeling. When we recognize a restricting conviction, now is the right time to challenge it. For example, assuming that you have the conviction, "I'm not adequately shrewd to accomplish this objective," inquire as to whether this conviction is really exact. Search for proof in your life that discredits this conviction, for example, times when you've succeeded or gained some new useful knowledge. Reevaluating these convictions can be extraordinary. Rather than seeing them as insights, we can consider them to be obsolete contemplations that never again serve us. By addressing and reevaluating them, we make space for additional enabling convictions to flourish. At last, relinquishing restricting convictions opens up additional opportunities. At the point when we supplant them with positive convictions about ourselves, we're bound to face challenges, attempt new things, and reach for our fantasies. Conquering restricting convictions is generally difficult, yet it's a cycle worth focusing on. As we let go of the past, we account for a future loaded up with potential and development. This part will direct you through distinguishing, testing, and supplanting your restricting convictions, so you can push ahead with certainty and a new viewpoint on what's conceivable. Versatility is the inward strength that keeps us pushing ahead, in any event, when we face mishaps or difficulties. It's not something we're brought into the world with. Rather, it's an expertise we can fabricate and fortify over the long haul. Building strength is fundamental for any individual who needs to make a future zeroed in on development and satisfaction, as life is seldom a smooth, unsurprising way. Flexibility doesn't mean keeping away from difficulty. It implies figuring out how to adjust, recuperate, and develop further through each experience. At the point when we develop strength, we gain the capacity to confront tough spots with boldness and keep fixed on our objectives, regardless of the hindrances. The initial step to building strength is to foster an outlook that embraces difficulties, as opposed to dreading them. Difficulties, misfortunes, and disappointments are a piece of everybody's excursion. By tolerating that impediments are regular and, surprisingly important for development, we begin to diversely see these minutes. Rather than seeing difficulties as indications of rout, we can see them as important opportunities for growth. Each challenge shows us a genuinely new thing about ourselves, our assets, our cutoff points, and our regions for development. A versatile mentality views at each test as a chance for personal development, carrying us nearer to our objectives. Strength additionally includes developing self-sympathy, particularly during difficult stretches. Frequently, when we face misfortunes, we're speedy to scrutinize ourselves, figuring we ought to have improved or taken care of things in an unexpected way. Yet, self-sympathy is an incredible asset that permits us to be delicate with ourselves, to excuse our missteps, and to continue to push ahead. At the point when we treat ourselves with graciousness and understanding, we're better prepared to quickly return from difficulties. Self-empathy advises us that nobody is great, and that slip-ups are a characteristic piece of the growing experience. One more fundamental component of strength is adaptability. Life seldom goes precisely as expected, and flexibility is critical to exploring changes without a hitch. Being adaptable means changing our arrangements when vital, and tracking down better approaches to move toward our objectives when the prior ways aren't working. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning our objectives. It implies being available to change and able to investigate various ways to accomplish them. A versatile individual will reevaluate their methodology, make changes, and continue onward. This versatility makes us more grounded and more ready for the surprising, exciting bends in the road life frequently brings. Building strength likewise requires areas of strength for and of direction. Having an unmistakable vision for what's to come gives us motivation to continue onward, in any event, when things get troublesome. At the point when we understand what we're pursuing and why it makes a difference to us, we're bound to remain inspired and push through difficult stretches. Our feeling of direction goes about as an anchor, keeping us grounded and centered during storms. It provides us a feeling of guidance, assisting us with recalling that each challenge we defeat carries us one bit nearer to our objectives. Reason fills versatility, giving us the solidarity to continue on and keep our eyes on the master plan. A solid, emotionally supportive network is one more significant part of flexibility. While flexibility is in many cases considered an individual quality, it's likewise something we can work with the assistance of others. Companions, family, tutors, and partners can offer consolation, point of view, and reasonable help when we really want it most. Connecting for help doesn't make us feeble. It shows strength and mindfulness. Conversing with others about our difficulties and standing by listening to their encounters can furnish us with new bits of knowledge, inspiration, and profound help. A strong individual realizes that they don't need to confront life's difficulties alone. Rehearsing appreciation can likewise improve our versatility. At the point when we center around the positive parts of our lives, we're better ready to deal with challenges. Appreciation assists us with seeing the upside, in any event, when things are extreme, by helping us to remember the things we're grateful for. It moves our concentration based on what's turning out badly to what's going right, furnishing us with a decent point of view. By routinely pondering what we're thankful for, we fabricate an outlook that is better prepared to deal with difficulties and misfortunes. Appreciation helps us to remember the strength we have inside us and the help we have around us, filling our flexibility. Finally, versatility develops through persistent taking care of oneself. Dealing with our psychological, physical, and close-to-home prosperity sets us up to confront life's difficulties with an unmistakable brain and a solid body. At the point when we focus on rest, nourishment, exercise, and unwinding, we're fabricating an establishment for flexibility. Taking care of oneself isn't just about spoiling ourselves. About making a condition of prosperity makes us fit for taking care of pressure and returning from misfortune. Flexibility is as much about keeping up with our well-being for what it's worth about having major areas of strength for a. At the point when we're all around rested, invigorated, and quiet, we're better ready to confront difficulties and continue to push ahead. In this part, you'll investigate common-sense systems for building strength in your own life. Whether you're confronting an individual test or pursuing a drawn-out objective, flexibility will be your most noteworthy partner. By embracing difficulties, rehearsing self-empathy, remaining adaptable, clutching reason, resting on help, encouraging appreciation, and keeping up with taking care of oneself, you'll foster a tough mentality that can deal with whatever comes your direction. Strength isn't tied in with staying away from challenges. It's tied in with meeting them with strength, gaining from them, and utilizing each insight to develop further. Putting forth objectives is one of the most impressive ways of making the future you imagine. Objectives furnish us with heading, assisting us with moving with reason as opposed to floating without a make-way. At the point when we put forth objectives, we characterize what we need to accomplish, making it more straightforward to outline the means we want to take. Objectives give design to our fantasies and assist with changing unclear cravings into noteworthy plans. Without them, feeling lost is simple. In any case, with clear objectives, we gain concentration, inspiration, and a feeling of direction in each step we take. The most important phase in laying out viable objectives is understanding what you really need for your future. This requires fair reflection and mindfulness, as well as an eagerness to look past what others expect of you. In some cases, we put forth objectives in view of outside pressures or cultural assumptions as opposed to our authentic longings. To stay away from this, find opportunity to ask yourself the main thing to you. What sort of life would you like to lead? What values would you like to exemplify? Your solutions to these inquiries will assist you with putting forth objectives that line up with your legitimate self. When you have a reasonable feeling of what you need, now is the ideal time to separate these bigger objectives into more modest, sensible advances. Major objectives can feel scary and overpowering in the event that we don't have the foggiest idea where to begin. By partitioning them into more modest achievements, we make the way ahead more agreeable and reachable. For instance, on the off chance that you want to work on your well-being, separate it into more modest advances like beginning with an everyday walk, drinking more water, and step-by-step adding better food sources to your eating regimen. These more modest activities gather speed and assist you with remaining committed. Defining explicit and quantifiable objectives is likewise essential for progress. Ambiguous objectives, for example, become better or further develop my funds are difficult to follow and can prompt dissatisfaction. All things considered, make your objectives understood and quantifiable like shed 10 pounds in 90 days or save $1,000 before the year's over. Explicit objectives give you something cement to pursue and permit you to quantify your advancement. At the point when we know precisely exact thing we're going for the gold to keep on track and spurred. One more fundamental piece of objective setting is making a course of events. Without cutoff times, objectives can undoubtedly be delayed or ignored. A timetable assists you with remaining responsible and provides you with a need to get moving. Be that as it may, it's likewise vital to be practical while setting cutoff times. Assuming you set courses of events that are excessively close, you might feel deterred in the event that you don't accomplish them. Then again, timetables that are too loose can prompt dawdling. Finding a harmony among desire and authenticity is critical to keeping up with consistent advancement. Alongside setting timetables, expecting potential obstacles is useful. Each objective will accompany its own difficulties, and being arranged can assist you with beating them. Contemplate what could hold you up, like a bustling timetable, absence of inspiration, or unanticipated conditions. When you distinguish likely difficulties, think of procedures to address them. For example, assuming you realize that a bustling timetable could obstruct your wellness objectives, plan exercises promptly toward the beginning of the day or find short schedules you can do at home. Planning for impediments decreases the gamble of mishaps and keeps you on target. Representation is a strong strategy that can improve your obligation to your objectives. At the point when you picture your ideal future, you make a psychological picture of what achievement resembles. This can cause your objectives to feel all the more genuine and feasible. Require a couple of moments every day to envision yourself accomplishing your objectives and encountering the advantages. Representation builds up your assurance and fortifies your confidence in your capacity to succeed. At the point when you see yourself succeeding, you're bound to make the moves expected to make it a reality. Responsibility is one more important device in objective setting. Imparting your objectives to somebody you trust can give additional inspiration to remain focused. At the point when another person is familiar with your objectives, you might feel more dedicated to seeing everything through to completion. You can likewise search out a responsibility accomplice who has comparable objectives, and you can uphold each other through challenges. Whether it's a companion, relative, or guide, having somebody to check in with can assist you with remaining propelled and praise your advancement en route. Celebrating little wins is a frequently neglected yet fundamental piece of the excursion. As you pursue your bigger objectives, find opportunity to perceive and value every achievement you reach. These little triumphs assemble certainty and help you to remember how far you've come. Recognizing your advancement keeps your spirits high and builds up your obligation to your objective. It's not difficult to become involved with the outcome. However, the actual excursion is brimming with important minutes worth celebrating. At last, recollect that adaptability is key in objective setting. Life is erratic and conditions might change en route. Being available to changing your objectives or courses of events doesn't mean you're surrendering. It implies you're adjusting to new real factors. Assuming you find that a specific objective no longer lines up with your qualities or isn't bringing you satisfaction, it's okay to reevaluate and turn. Adaptability permits you to keep fixed on your drawn-out vision while adjusting to the rhythmic movement of life. By embracing an adaptable methodology, you're ready to remain strong and focused on making the future you want. Part 6: Making Positive Propensities for Future Achievement. Positive propensities are the structure blocks of a fruitful future. Dissimilar to one-time endeavors or incidental changes, propensities are activities we rehash reliably over the long haul. They shape our lives in significant ways, affecting everything from our efficiency and well-being to our attitude and strength. At the point when we foster positive propensities that line up with our objectives, we make an establishment for long-haul achievement. Propensities make achievement more straightforward in light of the fact that they permit us to pursue our fantasies naturally without depending on consistent inspiration or determination. The most common way of making positive propensities begins with recognizing the propensities that will help you most. Not all propensities are made equivalent, so it's essential to zero in on ones that genuinely support your objectives and values. Contemplate what you need to accomplish and what day-to-day activities will assist you with arriving. For example, assuming you want to work on your actual well-being, propensities like ordinary activity, eating adjusted feasts, and it be pivotal to remain hydrated will. On the off chance that you want to develop expertly, propensities like perusing, systems administration, and defining day-to-day work boundaries can have a major effect. One of the best ways of building another propensity is to begin little. Frequently, we become amped up for another objective and attempt to change a lot immediately, just to lose inspiration half a month after the fact. By beginning with little, sensible activities, you make it simpler to remain steady. For instance, to foster a propensity for perusing consistently, begin by perusing for only 5 minutes every morning. As you become familiar with this little step, you can bit by bit expand the time. Little activities might appear to be unimportant, yet they gather speed and cause the propensity to feel regular. Consistency is critical to transforming activities into enduring propensities. It's adequately not to accomplish something a few times and trust it sticks. Propensities structure through reiteration. Attempt to do your new propensity simultaneously every day so it turns out to be important for your daily practice. Consistency assists your cerebrum with perceiving this new activity as a propensity, making it simpler to stay with over the long haul. Whether it's practicing each day or contemplating before bed, track down a cadence that works for yourself and make it a customary piece of your day. Another strong propensity-building strategy is to coordinate another propensity with a current one. Known as propensity stacking, this technique includes connecting your new propensity to something you as of now do consistently. For instance, to begin rehearsing appreciation, have a go at doing it just subsequent to cleaning your teeth every morning. By matching the new propensity with a laid-out one, you're bound to make sure to make it happen, and over the long run it will feel like a characteristic piece of your daily schedule. Propensity stacking makes it more straightforward to incorporate positive propensities into your everyday existence. Setting up updates and signals can likewise assist with supporting new propensities. Obvious signs, like a tacky note on your mirror or a schedule update on your telephone, can provoke you to make a move. Prompts go about as triggers that remind you to pursue your routine, in any event, when you're occupied or diverted. After some time, these updates won't be vital as the propensity will become programmed. In the beginning phases, however, Signals and updates assume a significant part in keeping you on target and fortifying your responsibility. Building positive propensities frequently includes breaking old, pointless ones. A large number of us have propensities that neutralize our objectives, similar to delaying, gorging, or investing a lot of energy in web-based entertainment. Supplanting these propensities with positive ones is a continuous cycle that requires tolerance and ingenuity. Begin by distinguishing the propensities that keep you down and search for ways of supplanting them with better other options. For instance, in the event that you will generally delay, take a stab at setting a propensity for handling the most difficult undertakings first thing. Keeping tabs on your development can support your inspiration and assist you with remaining focused on new propensities. Keeping a diary, utilizing an application, or writing in a schedule can assist you with seeing your consistency and commend your advancement. Progress following gives a visual indication of your endeavors and makes it simple to perceive how far you've come. This support is particularly useful in the beginning phases when you could feel enticed to surrender. Each time you see your improvement, you build up your obligation to the propensity, making it simpler to remain on track. It's additionally essential to remunerate yourself as you fabricate positive propensities. Rewards don't need to be excessive, they simply have to give you something to anticipate. Each time you complete a propensity, give yourself a little prize, similar to a couple of moments of unwinding, a most loved nibble or a brief break. Rewards make a positive relationship with the propensity, making you bound to rehash it. Over the long run, the fulfillment of the actual propensity will turn into its own prize. Be that as it may, to start with, prizes can be strong inspirations. Ultimately, recall that building positive propensities requires some investment and persistence. It's not difficult to feel deterred in the event that you miss a day or battle to remain reliable, yet misfortunes are a typical piece of the cycle. Instead of getting deterred, remind yourself why this propensity matters to you and spotlight on refocusing. Flawlessness isn't the objective, tirelessness is. Consistently you pursue your routine, you're making one stride nearer to making it an enduring piece of your life. Embrace the excursion. Remain patient and trust that each little exertion will take care of from here on out. Inspiration is a strong power that drives us to seek after our fantasies and desires. However, where we source our inspiration matters. Rather than glancing back at previous oversights or second thoughts, finding inspiration in your vision for the future can move you forward with more prominent strength and reason. At the point when you're centered around where you're going as opposed to what's behind, you open a positive energy that energizes your endeavors in the correct course. Your vision turns into a reference point directing and motivating you in any event when the excursion gets extreme. Beginning with an unmistakable vision of your ideal future is fundamental. This vision doesn't need to be definite from the start, yet it ought to catch the pith of what you need to accomplish. Ask yourself, what sort of life would you like to make? How would you imagine your well-being, connections, vocation, or self-improvement in the years to come? By portraying your optimal futurito, lay out a convincing motivation to pursue it. This vision then turns into a wellspring of motivation that assists you with remaining committed, regardless of the difficulties. One of the advantages of zeroing in on a future vision is that it carries a feeling of direction to your everyday activities. At the point when your objectives are pull in a longing for a superior future, you'll find it more straightforward to settle on decisions that line up with that vision. The inspiration to act works out easily in light of the fact that you're advancing towards something significant. This point of view likewise assists you with seeing every little activity as a bit nearer to your fantasies, making it simpler to remain persuaded and predictable over the long haul. While previous encounters might hold significant illustrations, harping on them can frequently block progress. Harping on past disappointments or disillusionments can raise self-issue and anxiety toward rehashing botches. Notwithstanding, when your emphasis is on the future, you become stronger in confronting misfortunes. A future-centered outlook urges you to see difficulties as brief and spurs you to continue onward. You're not generally kept down by the constraints of the past, permitting you to step certainly into the potential outcomes that lie ahead. To remain propelled by your vision, keeping that vision new and clear to you is significant. Perception can be an integral asset in this cycle. Put in almost no time every day envisioning yourself carrying on with the existence you want. Envision the feeling of achievement, and the delight that accompany accomplishing your objectives. This psychological activity supports your responsibility and makes serious areas of strength for an association with your vision, making it more straightforward to remain persuaded in any event when progress feels slow. Setting achievements en route can likewise upgrade your inspiration. Achievements separate your bigger vision into reachable advances, providing you with a feeling of progress as you push ahead. Each time you arrive at an achievement, you fabricate trust in your capacity to accomplish your definitive objective. Praising these little triumphs can recharge your inspiration and advise you that you're on the correct way. By zeroing in on the following achievement rather than the whole excursion, you cause your vision to feel more feasible and keep your inspiration high. A fundamental part of finding inspiration in your vision is encircling yourself with positive impacts. Search out individuals, conditions, and assets that build up your future-centered attitude. This could incorporate coaches, strong companions, or books and web recordings that move development. At the point when you're encircled by energy, it's simpler to remain lined up with your vision and stay propelled. On the other hand, reducing most, if not all, connection with cynicism and debilitation can keep you from being maneuvered once again into a past-situated outlook. Keeping a diary can be useful for following your excursion and considering your vision. Consistently recording your contemplations, encounters, and progress permits you to remain associated with your objectives. Journaling can likewise assist you with perceiving designs in your way of behaving, distinguish regions for development, and celebrate little wins. Glancing back at past sections can help you to remember the headway you've made, building up your inspiration, and showing you how far you've come. At the point when you feel your inspiration faltering, recollect why your vision matters to you. Ponder the center explanations for your objectives and how accomplishing them will decidedly affect your life. Inspiration might rhythmic movement, yet when you're associated with your motivation, you'll muster restored desire to continue onward. Allow your for what reason to act as a steady wake-up call representing things to come you're pursuing and use it as an instrument to revive your energy when difficulties emerge. At long last, show restraint toward yourself. Building a future in view of a dream is a long excursion, and there will be snapshots of uncertainty or trouble. Inspiration isn't tied in with feeling roused constantly. It's about reliably getting back to your vision and helping yourself to remember its significance. Believe that each step, regardless of how little, carries you nearer to the existence you imagine. By zeroing in on your future as opposed to your past, you make the way for development, change, and an existence of direction that really lines up with your fantasies. Part 8. Delivering psychological weight. Delivering psychological weight is fundamental to making space for a more promising time to come. Frequently, we convey unsettled feelings from previous encounters like responsibility, outrage, hatred, or misery that overload us and block our development. These feelings, while normal, can gather over the long haul and shape our point of view. To push ahead, it's vital to recognize and manage this psychological weight, liberating ourselves from its effect on our present and future. The most important phase in delivering psychological weight is remembering it. A significant number of us are so familiar with our close-to-home examples that we may not understand we're conveying unsettled sentiments. Pause for a minute to consider any common feelings or responses you experience. Are there explicit triggers or circumstances that reliably raise outrage, pity, or dissatisfaction? These examples are hints highlighting further unsettled feelings, and mindfulness is the most vital move toward letting them go. When you perceive your psychological weight, permit yourself to completely feel those feelings. It very well may be enticing to stifle troublesome sentiments. However, keeping away from them just drags out their hold over you. Sit with your feelings without judgment and let yourself feel the aggravation, outrage, or bitterness. This cycle might be awkward, yet it's a vital stage in delivering psychological weight. By completely encountering these feelings, you start to liberate yourself from their weighting impacts. One more amazing asset in giving up is rehearsing pardoning, both of yourself as well as other people. Clutching hatred or lament keeps us fastened to the past, keeping us from completely embracing the present. Pardoning doesn't mean excusing atrocities. Rather, it's an approach to delivering their command over you. By excusing others and yourself, you permit recuperating to occur, accounting for new encounters and feelings to occupy the space that old feelings of disdain once involved. Journaling can be a viable method for handling and delivering psychological weight. Recording your considerations, encounters, and sentiments makes a place of refuge for self-reflection. Pouring your feelings onto paper permits you to externalize them, lessening their force. By putting words to your sentiments, you gain point of view and distance from them, which assists you with giving up. Over the long haul, journaling can turn into a remedial work on, giving a reliable outlet to profound delivery. Care is one more important practice for delivering psychological weight. At the point when we live right now, we're less inclined to harp on past agony or stress over what's in store. Care assists you with noticing your contemplations and feelings without connection, permitting you to perceive when old sentiments emerge. Rather than losing all sense of direction in these feelings, you can notice them from a good ways, decreasing their control over you. After some time, care reinforces your capacity to relinquish past feelings. Looking for help from others can likewise be instrumental in the recuperating system. Whether it's a confided-in companion, relative, or specialist, discussing your thoughts with somebody can give help and viewpoint. Here and there, basically working about your psychological weight without holding back can ease up its weight. Support from others advises you that you're in good company in your excursion and can offer direction or experiences that assist you with handling troublesome feelings. Breathwork and contemplation are powerful practices for delivering close-to-home strain put away in the body. Feelings are not simply mental encounters. They likewise manifest truly, making pressure, uneasiness, or torment. Profound breathing activities and reflection assist with delivering this actual pressure, advancing unwinding and close-to-home equilibrium. Through steady practice, breathwork can help with relinquishing put-away feelings, making a feeling of harmony and opportunity in both body and brain. Defining limits is one more key to delivering psychological weight. Once in a while, our waiting feelings are connected to progressing harmful connections or circumstances. By defining sound limits, you shield yourself from additional profound damage and make a place of refuge for mending. Limits can include restricting contact with specific people or expressing no to circumstances that trigger past aggravation. Laying out limits is a demonstration of confidence that encourages close-to-home prosperity. Self-sympathy assumes an urgent part during the time spent giving up. Delivering psychological weight is frequently difficult and misfortunes are ordinary. Rehearsing self-sympathy implies treating yourself with thoughtfulness and persistence during this excursion. Perceive that mending requires some investment and that it's okay to move at your own speed. At the point when you approach yourself with sympathy, you establish a climate where giving up turns into a delicate and sustaining process instead of a constrained one. Zeroing in on the present can likewise assist with facilitating the most common way of giving up. Psychological weight frequently comes from ruminating on previous occasions, yet when we guide our focus toward the current second, we debilitate the previous hold on us. Take part in exercises that ground you in the present, like activity, investing energy in nature, or participating in an imaginative side interest. By developing presence, you make it simpler to relinquish what no longer serves you. Picturing your optimal self, liberated from profound weights, can give a strong inspiration to give up. Take a couple of seconds to envision the individual you need to become, somebody who isn't burdened by past damages or laments. Envision yourself feeling light, certain, and unburdened. This representation can act as a wake-up call of the opportunity and bliss that looks for you as you discharge old feelings, propelling you to continue to push ahead. At long last, commend your advancement, regardless of how little it might appear. Relinquishing psychological weight is a gallant excursion, and each forward-moving step is an achievement. Perceive the minutes when you respond in an unexpected way, feel lighter, or experience harmony where there was once torment. Commend these movements as indications of development and mending. Every snapshot of progress builds up your capacity to give up and embrace a day-to-day existence liberated from the heaviness of the past. Section 9. The significance of self-sympathy on your excursion. Self-empathy is a strong yet frequently neglected quality that can change your excursion towards self-improvement and satisfaction. It's not difficult to be challenging for ourselves, particularly when we commit errors or miss the mark concerning our objectives. Be that as it may, rehearsing self-empathy permits us to move toward our battles and misfortunes with generosity, persistence, and understanding, making the way ahead undeniably less overwhelming. Embracing self-sympathy doesn't mean letting yourself free. It implies giving yourself the very effortlessness and backing that you would offer a companion. At the core of self-empathy is the acknowledgement that everybody encounters hardships. Battles and difficulties are important for the human experience, and by recognizing this, we can feel less disconnected in our own difficulties. At the point when you advise yourself that everybody has snapshots of uncertainty, dread, or dissatisfaction, it becomes more straightforward to move toward yourself with persistence and understanding. Self-sympathy interfaces you to the more extensive human experience, permitting you to see your excursion with a feeling of point of view and shared mankind. Being caring to yourself additionally includes relinquishing brutal self-analysis. A considerable lot of us have an internal pundit that rushes to bring up our defects or errors, making pointless culpability or disgrace. This internal pundit frequently comes from cultural tensions or previous encounters, and keeping in mind that it might feel like a method for remaining propelled, it for the most part causes more damage than good. Supplanting self-analysis with self-empathy helps shift your concentration from your apparent disappointments to your true capacity for development and improvement. Self-empathy doesn't mean overlooking regions where you need to get to the next level. Rather, it urges you to move toward development with a delicate disposition. At the point when you're thoughtful to yourself, you're bound to gain from your slip-ups without getting impeded by them. This positive outlook advances strength as you're ready to ponder misfortunes productively as opposed to stalling out in a pattern of cynicism. With self-empathy, each misstep turns into a potential chance to learn and develop as opposed to an impression of your value. One more crucial part of self-empathy is self-acknowledgement. Self-empathy welcomes you to acknowledge yourself as you are right now, regardless of whether there are regions you wish to change. This doesn't mean you can't pursue improvement. However, it urges you to do as such from a position of self-acknowledgement as opposed to self-judgment. By tolerating yourself, you make a strong groundwork of certainty and self-esteem that makes it simpler to seek after your objectives unafraid of disappointment or dismissal. In snapshots of stress or uneasiness, self-empathy can act as a strong establishing device. While you're confronting a tough spot, pause for a minute to stop, inhale, and advise yourself that it's okay to feel tested. Self-sympathetic practices, like profound breathing or rehashing a soothing confirmation, can assist with quieting your brain and give the clearness you really want to explore difficulties. This approach permits you to confront challenges with an unmistakable head and a quiet heart. Rehearsing self-empathy likewise implies setting sensible assumptions for yourself. It's not difficult to become overpowered by the strain to continually accomplish or be awesome. However, these ridiculous assumptions can prompt burnout and disillusionment. All things being equal, be thoughtful to yourself by defining achievable objectives and celebrating little triumphs en route. Self-empathy urges you to respect your advancement, but little, and advises you that development is an excursion, not a race. Self-sympathy urges you to sustain a strong inward voice. This voice gives support and consolation, helping you that you're competent to remember conquering difficulties. Fostering a steady inward exchange takes practice, particularly in the event that you're accustomed to being self-basic, yet over the long haul, this caring voice can turn into a strong partner. At the point when you face difficulties, this internal voice can help you to remember your assets, lifting you up as opposed to hauling you down. At the point when you practice self-sympathy, you're bound to deal with your physical and mental prosperity. Self-empathetic people perceive the significance of rest, unwinding, and taking care of oneself as fundamental pieces of their excursion. By focusing on your prosperity, you make a reasonable establishment that upholds your objectives and desires. Taking care of oneself turns into a method for re-energizing and recharge your energy, as opposed to an extravagance or interruption from efficiency. Self-empathy likewise permits you to embrace weakness. Development requires getting out of your usual range of familiarity, and this frequently implies facing challenges and committing errors. At the point when you're sympathetic with yourself, you're more able to embrace weakness since you know that regardless of whether things go as expected, you'll answer with benevolence instead of cruelty. This opportunity to face challenges unafraid of self-analysis cultivates imagination, strength, and a readiness to attempt once more. Even with analysis from others, self-sympathy goes about as a defensive safeguard. Productive input can be useful. However, outside analysis can in some cases trigger self-uncertainty or weakness. By rehearsing self-sympathy, you fortify your inward emotionally supportive network, which assists you with assessing outer criticism unbiasedly without allowing it to harm your self-esteem. With self-empathy, you can stay positive about your excursion and your choices, no matter what the assessments of others. Ultimately, self-sympathy upgrades your capacity to quickly return from difficulties. At the point when you view challenges with empathy, you're less inclined to consider them to be private downfalls. All things considered, they become piece of the development interaction, and you can move toward them with a feeling of interest and learning. This flexibility assists you with moving past impediments, yet additionally develops your inward fortitude, advising you that you are fit for beating anything challenges come your direction. Integrating self-sympathy into your process is a groundbreaking practice that improves each step of your way. It furnishes you with a feeling of inward harmony, versatility, and certainty, making it simpler to confront difficulties, seek after your objectives, and partake during the time spent development. By treating yourself with the thoughtfulness, persistence, and regard you merit, you develop a steady and sustaining climate that engages you to turn into your best self. Part 10. Embracing your future with certainty. Embracing your future with certainty is a strong move toward turning into the individual you've practically forever needed to be. Certainty isn't just about putting stock in your capacities. It's tied in with confiding in your strength and realizing you can deal with whatever comes your direction. As you discharge old feelings of trepidation and restricting convictions, you make space for a future loaded up with probability. This part investigates how to step into your future with the certainty and boldness to proudly pursue your fantasies. One of the critical parts of embracing your future unhesitatingly is imagining what you really care about. Lucidity is the groundwork of certainty. At the point when you have an unmistakable vision of your objectives and dreams, centering your endeavors and energy is more straightforward. Find opportunity to envision the existence you need to make. Envision yourself accomplishing your objectives, feeling satisfied, and living in arrangement with your qualities. This representation can act as a psychological guide directing you toward the future you want. Setting sensible assumptions for your journey is likewise significant. Certainty doesn't mean anticipating flawlessness. It implies understanding that there will be difficulties en route. Rather than dreading mishaps, view them as regular pieces of the development interaction. At the point when you recognize that deterrents are a piece of any excursion, you construct strength, making it more straightforward to remain sure in any event, when things don't go precisely as expected. Self-reflection is one more device for building certainty. Think back on minutes when you confronted difficulties and defeated them. Perceive the strength, tolerance, and assurance you exhibited in those circumstances. Pondering your previous achievements, regardless of how little, helps you to remember your ability to succeed. Every achievement you've accomplished builds up the conviction that you are fit for taking care of what's to come holds. Fostering a development mentality is vital for certainly venturing into what's in store. A development mentality is the conviction that your capacities and insight can be created through difficult work and determination. This mentality permits you to consider difficulties to be chances to advance instead of dangers to your self-esteem. By embracing a development mentality, you approach each insight as an opportunity to develop, making a strong starting point for trust in yourself and your future. Encircling yourself with steady individuals can likewise help your certainty. Companions, guides, and friends and family who trust in you can give support and point of view during testing times. Having an organization of individuals who elevate you builds up your confidence in yourself. Certainty is infectious, and by encircling yourself with positive impacts, you build up your own healthy identity confirmation and inspiration. Making a steady move toward your objectives is one more method for building certainty. Every little step you take toward your fantasies fills in as a sign of your responsibility and capacity. These activities, regardless of how minor, collect over the long haul, making a feeling of force. As you progress, you'll feel more fit for handling greater difficulties. Certainty develops with activity, so keep pushing ahead regardless of whether progress feels slow. Confronting your feelings of dread is a fundamental piece of embracing your future with certainty. Frequently, our apprehensions depend on envisioned situations that might in all likelihood won't ever occur. By standing up to these feelings of trepidation head-on, you reduce their control over you. Make little strides beyond your usual range of familiarity, step by step developing your certainty to handle greater difficulties. Each time you confront a trepidation, you demonstrate to yourself that you are more grounded than you once accepted. One more significant practice for developing certainty is rehearsing appreciation. Zeroing in on the positive parts of your life makes a mentality of overflow as opposed to need. At the point when you value what you have a solid sense of safety and less determined by dread or uncertainty. Appreciation assists you with remaining grounded and hopeful, which powers your certainty as you push ahead. Embrace the current second and recognize every one of the decency that encompasses you. Figuring out how to pardon yourself for previous mishaps can likewise engage you to embrace your future. Clutching responsibility or lament keeps you fastened to the past and lessens your certainty. Perceive that errors are important for development and pardon yourself for any slips-up. Self-pardoning is a demonstration of self-sympathy that sets you free from the heaviness of the past, permitting you to push ahead with a feeling of opportunity and certainty. Embracing the obscure is one more key to venturing with certainty into your future. Vulnerability can feel threatening, but on the other hand, it's where development and plausibility lie. Tolerating that what's to come is questionable permits you to stay open to new open doors and encounters. Rather than dreading the obscure, view it as a fresh start whereupon you can make your fantasies. Certainty comes from believing that, regardless of the situation, you have the solidarity to explore it. Creating versatility is fundamental for keeping up with certainty over the long haul. Life's process will have high points and low points, yet flexibility permits you to return quickly from mishaps. Flexibility resembles a muscle that fortifies each time you face a test and conquer it. Embrace strength as a centerpiece of your excursion, knowing that each experience, whether positive or negative, adds to your development and certainty. Praise your advancement, regardless of how little. Every accomplishment, whether huge or little, is a demonstration of your commitment and difficult work. Recognizing your achievements assists you with incorporating a feeling of progress, supporting your certainty. Carve out opportunity to perceive your achievements and value how far you've come. These festivals act as tokens of your ability, powering your certainty as you push ahead. Center around building propensities that help your certainty, like positive self-talk, taking care of oneself, and consistent learning. These propensities make areas of strength for engaging you to handle difficulties with confidence. Positive self-talk, specifically, shapes your attitude, making it more straightforward to have faith in yourself. Taking care of oneself guarantees you have the physical and mental energy expected to seek after your fantasies, while learning keeps your brain sharp and versatile. In conclusion, trust in your excursion and accept that you are meriting the future you imagine. Embracing your future with certainty requires confidence in your own value and potential. Advise yourself that you are proficient, tough, and meriting achievement. At the point when you clutch this conviction, you enable yourself to make a day-to-day existence that mirrors your qualities and desires. Certainty isn't tied in with having every one of the responses. It's tied in with confiding in yourself to track down them en route. Embracing your future with certainty is a deep-rooted venture. By confiding in your capacities, relinquishing dread, and developing flexibility, you enable yourself to push ahead with reason and assurance. Certainty isn't an objective, however a training, one that becomes more grounded with each step you take. As you forge ahead with your way, recollect that you have the strength, mental fortitude, and shrewdness to shape your future in arrangement with your fantasies. Much thanks to you for paying attention to zero in on your future, not your past. Keep in mind, consistently is another potential chance to make the existence you need. By moving your concentration from where you've been to where you're going, you're now moving toward a more promising time to come. Embrace the examples of your past, yet don't allow them to characterize you. As you go ahead, remember this idea. The past is a position of learning, not a position of living. Center around where you're going, not where you've been. Let this book recording act as a steady wake-up call that your possible lies in what you decide to do straight away. In this way, step forward with fortitude and certainty. Your future is yours to make.